The moment we launched this game, I knew something wasn't right. Not the usual kind of wrong, not bad graphics, not broken sound, not even the cheap horror effects we've seen 1,000 times. This was heavier, like the air in the room shifted the second the title screen appeared. The background wasn't some flashy logo or creepy face. It was just a hallway. Long, empty, blacker than black. And then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was no menu. Just one word glowing at the bottom of the screen. Start. No options, no settings, no escape. The weird part. The glow of that word almost looked alive, like it was pulsing in time with a heartbeat. At first, I thought it was just a design trick. But then I realized it was beating at the same rhythm as my own. Now, I don't scare easy. I play horror games all the time. I laugh at cheap jump scares. I've seen it all. But this one felt different. I was already gripping the controller tighter than I meant to. My friend sitting next to me leaned over and whispered, "Do you hear that?" And that's when I noticed it. There was a faint sound buried in the silence. Not music, not static. A heartbeat, slow, heavy, distant. Almost like it was coming from inside the walls of my room instead of my headset. I laughed it off because, of course, what else do you do when a game tries to get under your skin? But the second I pressed that glowing start, the lights in my room flickered for real. Both of us froze. I wanted to believe it was coincidence, that the bulb was just weak, but I swear it felt like the game was bleeding into reality. Then the screen went black. Nothing, just silence, and then, without warning, text crawled across the screen in jagged red letters. It said, "Welcome back, back." I said out loud, "What do you mean, back? I've never played this before." My friend laughed nervously, but didn't answer. We just sat there staring at the screen, waiting for something to happen. My palms were sweating so badly, I nearly dropped the controller. Suddenly, a door appeared at the end of that black hallway, just floating there, glowing faintly like it was daring us to walk through. And before I could even make a choice, the game decided for me. The screen jerked forward, pulling us closer, like invisible hands were dragging us toward it. I tried to press pause, tried to back out, but every button on the controller was dead, useless. That's when the whispering started. Not in-game, in my headphones, right in my ears, dozens of voices, too soft to understand, but I could feel the words crawling down my spine. I yanked the headset halfway off, but the whispers didn't stop. I could still hear them, faint, like they were inside the room with us. I don't know why, but in that moment, my heart was racing like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. I could barely breathe. My friend whispered, "Do you think this thing is watching us?" And I wanted to say no. I wanted to laugh it off, but the screen didn't give me a chance. The door creaked open on its own, and the game dragged us inside. And that's when everything really started to spiral out of control, because what waited for us on the other side of that door was something we were never supposed to see. When the door creaked open, the screen didn't fade into some cutscene or loading screen. No, it yanked us through, like we were being pulled into another dimension. Suddenly, we were standing inside what looked like an old house, but the textures were wrong. Everything was fuzzy around the edges, like it was half rendered, half rotting. Wallpaper peeled off in strips. The wooden floorboards stretched out in jagged, unnatural angles, like the house itself had been stitched together from broken pieces of somewhere else. And then it hit me, the smell. Don't ask me how a game can have a smell, but I swear I could smell it. Damp wood, mold, iron, like the whole place was rotting from the inside out. My friend muttered, "This feels too real," and I couldn't disagree. There was no HUD, no inventory, no tutorial. Just us, standing in the middle of a hallway with a single flickering light bulb swaying above. Shadows crawled along the walls, shifting in ways that didn't match the light. Every creak of the house made me tense up. Every little sound made me check behind me, because it felt like something was always there, just out of sight. We took a step forward. The sound design was unreal. Our footsteps echoed like we were actually in the hallway. But then came another set of footsteps, not ours, heavy, slow, following. I spun the camera around, expecting to see an enemy, but the hallway was empty. Just shadows. I laughed nervously, trying to break the tension. Okay, cool trick. Nice audio design. You almost got me. But inside, my chest was tight. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was behind us, breathing down our necks just out of frame. Then we noticed the clock on the wall, old, dusty, broken glass across its face. The second hand wasn't ticking forward. It was ticking backward, at first slowly, then faster and faster, until it spun so violently the entire clock shattered. Pieces flew off the wall and clattered to the ground, and I swear on everything the sound of that glass breaking didn't come from the game. It came from behind us, in the room we were sitting in. Both of us whipped our heads around, staring into the dark corners of my room. Nothing moved, but I couldn't shake it. That sound had been real, too real. When I turned back, the game had changed. The hallway was gone. We were standing in a child's bedroom now. Pink wallpaper, old toys scattered across the floor, a rocking horse in the corner. For a second it felt almost safe, almost, until the toys started moving. The rocking horse shifted back and forth. A doll sitting on the shelf slowly turned its head to look at us. I swear its eyes glinted red for just a second. And then laughter, soft, high-pitched, a child's laugh, but not the kind that makes you smile. This was broken. Glitching, like a laugh being played backward through static. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely keep the controller steady. My friend whispered, "Don't look under the bed," which, of course, made me look under the bed, and that was a mistake. Because under there, something was waiting, something that should not have been there. The camera tilted downward, and for a second, I thought it was going to glitch out. The screen flickered, the textures warped, and I almost convinced myself it would just be empty darkness under the bed. Nothing there, just another cheap trick, but it wasn't empty. At first, I only saw a pale hand, thin, bony, fingers too long, tapping against the floorboards like it was impatiently waiting for us. I froze. My thumb hovered over the joystick, but I couldn't move. My friend whispered, "Back up, back up, back up, back up," but I couldn't. The game wouldn't let me. The camera kept panning lower, like some invisible force was pushing my head down. And then the face appeared, not a monster, not a demon, a little girl. Her skin was gray like ash, and her eyes were black voids, dripping with something thick and tar-like. Her smile stretched wider than it should have, way too wide, tearing the corners of her mouth as she whispered. "No," hissed, "why are you in my room?" I swear to you, it didn't sound like game audio. It sounded like she was whispering right behind us in the room. I could feel her breath on the back of my neck. I jerked around in real life, expecting to see someone standing there. Nothing, just shadows. But when I looked back at the screen, the little girl had crawled halfway out from under the bed. Her body moved wrong, bones bending at impossible angles. She twisted herself like a spider, arms and legs bending the wrong way, and started crawling toward the camera. Her head twitched violently with every step. I mashed every button, trying to back away, trying to run, but nothing worked. My character was locked in place, just staring as this thing dragged itself closer and closer. The whispering grew louder, overlapping voices now, all chanting different words I couldn't understand. It was like being surrounded by hundreds of people whispering in the dark, closing in. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was going to burst out of my chest. My friend muttered, "Dude, turn it off. Just shut it off. This isn't right." And for a split second, I thought about it. I almost pulled the plug, but something in the back of my head told me not to. Like if I turned it off now, it wouldn't actually stop. The girl's face filled the screen. Her black eyes stared right into me, like she knew I was there, not just my character. And then, Suddenly the game glitched. The screen went white for a split second, then black. Silence. I thought maybe it had crashed, maybe it was over. I almost breathed a sigh of relief, but then words appeared in red across the screen. You shouldn't have looked. And then, without any input, the screen started to pan again, this time not under the bed. Not into the room, but directly toward the closet door, the one we hadn't touched yet. And deep inside that closet, something was waiting. The closet door was just there, standing tall and crooked at the far end of the room, almost pulsing in the dim light like it was alive. I hadn't touched the controls. My character was moving toward it on its own, step by step, like the game had decided it knew better than me. Every step made the floorboards groan louder. The screen shook slightly with each footfall, like even the house wanted us to stop. My palms were slick with sweat, the controller slipping in my grip. My friend leaned forward, whispering, "Don't open it. Please don't open it." And I wanted to agree. I wanted to look away, but the closer we got, the heavier the air around me felt. Then the whispers started again. Faint crawling, hundreds of voices, all layered on top of each other, mumbling things I couldn't make out. But one phrase kept repeating, standing out from the rest, almost clear as day. "He's waiting." I laughed nervously, trying to cut through the tension. "Cool, great, he's waiting, can we not?" But my voice cracked and my friend didn't even smile. He just stared at the screen, died frozen. The closet door rattled once, just a shiver, like something inside was shifting, pressing against it. I tried the joystick, tried to turn away, but the game dragged me forward anyway. Another step, and another, until my character was standing directly in front of it. The screen stayed there, frozen, nothing moved. Just my reflection staring back at me in the glossy black wood of that door. My heart was racing, thundering in my chest so hard I felt it in my throat. And then knock, one sharp, hollow knock from the inside. I jumped so hard I nearly threw the controller. My friend cursed under his breath, clutching the armrest of the chair. The knock came again, louder this time. The wood splintered. Something inside was pounding to get out. I hit every button I could think of, praying it would let me back away, but the game gave me no control. And then, slowly, with the sound of old hinges groaning, the closet door began to open. Darkness, at first, that's all there was. Just a black void stretching into nowhere. No textures, no light, just pure emptiness. And then two eyes appeared, glowing white, staring straight at us. They blinked once, slowly, and a grin stretched wide beneath them. Not a human grin, too sharp, too many teeth. My whole body went cold, like I was staring into something I was never supposed to see. And then the screen glitched. Static tore across the game, red symbols flashing for just a second like corrupted code. But it didn't look like any code I'd ever seen. It looked like writing, like runes carved into the pixels themselves. The whispers surged again, deafening now, overlapping until it felt like the whole room was vibrating with voices. My controller buzzed violently in my hands, shaking so hard I thought it might break. And then, out of nowhere, the thing in the closet laughed. Deep, broken, glitching, like the sound of something trying to mimic a human but failing horribly. The screen lurched forward, dragging us into the closet's darkness before I could even react. The game swallowed everything, my character, the room, the light, until all that was left was black, and then the text appeared again. One single phrase, "You can't leave now." And that's when we realized this wasn't just a nightmare inside the game anymore. The screen was nothing but black for what felt like forever. At first, I thought the game had crashed again, but then faint breathing. Slow, uneven, not mine, not my friend's. It was coming from the speakers, echoing through the darkness. Then one tiny flicker of light. A candle appeared in my character's hand, burning low, wax dripping down onto pale fingers. The flame barely lit more than a few feet ahead, but what it revealed made my stomach twist. We weren't in the bedroom anymore. The walls were gone, the floor was gone. Instead, it looked like we were standing in an endless tunnel made of, God, I don't even know how to describe it. Flesh, veins stretched across the walls like roots, twitching slightly as though they were alive. Every surface pulsed faintly, like we were inside something's body. I felt my chest tighten. Nope, nope, this is too much. But the game didn't care. It forced us forward, step by step, the sound of dripping water echoing with each move. Except it didn't sound like water. It sounded thicker, heavier. The deeper we went, the louder the whispers grew. I could almost make out words now, fragments cutting through the noise. Stay forever, don't look back. My friend grabbed my arm in real life and whispered, Dude, do not turn around. And I don't know if he was joking or if something in his gut told him the same thing mine did. I kept the camera forward, forcing myself not to check behind us. But that didn't stop the sound. Footsteps, right on our heels, not ours. Something was following, matching our pace perfectly, dragging its feet through the wet, fleshy ground. Every instinct screamed at me to look, but I couldn't. If I turned around, I was sure I'd see something I couldn't unsee. The tunnel narrowed. The walls pressed closer and closer until I could almost feel them brushing against my arms. The candle flickered violently, casting twisted shadows that moved even when I didn't. And then, carved into the walls, I saw them symbols. The same ones that had glitched across the screen earlier. Jagged, unnatural shapes that seemed to shift the longer I stared at them. And then it hit me, these weren't just designs, they were words. The game wasn't just showing us random symbols, it was speaking. I leaned closer to the screen, trying to make sense of one, and for just a split second I understood it. A single word, mine, my stomach dropped. My friend shouted, Don't read them, and I snapped my eyes away. But it was too late. The walls around us pulsed violently, the entire tunnel shaking like it was alive and angry. The footsteps behind us grew faster. Closer I ran. Finally, the game let me move, and I sprinted forward, the candle flickering dangerously low as the tunnel twisted and turned like a living maze. The whispers turned into screams, hundreds of voices shrieking in my ears. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely keep control. And then I saw it, a door at the end of the tunnel, old wooden, glowing faintly like it was our only way out. Relief surged through me. My friend yelled, Go, 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 and I bolted for it. But the second I touched the handle, the candle went out. Darkness swallowed everything, and in that black silence, something whispered right into my ear, not through the speakers, not from the game, directly into me, it said, You don't get to leave. For a few seconds, I couldn't even breathe. Total darkness, nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I kept flicking the joystick, pressing buttons like a maniac, praying for something, anything to happen. But then the screen lit up again, not with the candle, no. This time it was my reflection. I was staring at a mirror. My character, no, me, stood in front of it, lit by some invisible light. And here's the part that made my blood run cold. The reflection didn't move the same way I did. My hands were gripping the controller tight, but the reflection's hands were empty. It tilted its head, watching me, blinking a fraction too late, like it was trying to mimic me but couldn't quite get it right. My friend whispered, That's not youth. And before I could answer, the reflection grinned, ear to ear. Too wide, the glass cracked, and then it lunged straight through the mirror. The screen exploded into static. My controller vibrated violently, and for a split second, I thought something was going to come out of the TV. The static cleared, and suddenly I was back in the hallway from the beginning of the game. Same flickering light bulb. Same peeling wallpaper, except this time the exit door was gone. There was no way out. I spun the camera around in circles, looking for anything, any escape, but the walls just stretched further and further, like the house was expanding endlessly. The whispers returned, louder than ever, but now they were all chanting the same phrase in unison: "Stay with us, stay with us, stay with us." The walls began to close in. Literally, they groaned and creaked, inching closer and closer, as if the house was swallowing me alive. My character screamed, and here's the part that really broke me. So did my mic. I heard my own scream echoed back through the speakers, distorted and warped, as if the game had recorded me. My friend looked at me, dead pale, and said, "Dude, it knows you're here." And then the screen went black. No game over, no credits, just black. For a full minute, nothing happened. I honestly thought it was over. We just sat there, breathing heavy, trying to process what the hell just happened. And then, one final message appeared across the screen. Blood red, glitching, burning into my vision. "You never escape a nightmare." And the game closed on its own. Just shut down, straight to desktop. We sat there in silence. I didn't want to move. I didn't even want to look at the TV. And when I finally turned, I swear for just a split second, I thought I saw my reflection in the dark screen smiling back at me. So yeah, it's safe to say, we're never opening that game again, especially not at night, because once it finds you, it doesn't let go.